Now then, I ran out of time to record the video before I left from school, so in true Top Gear style, I am recording this video on my drive home. What is this lesson about? What is this all about? This is my New Year's resolution. Every lesson for those students who want to do well and want to learn, there's going to be this video for them to come in, to scan, and to start learning straight away. So pop the title on your page from the board and write down anything useful that I happen to say, or you can watch it through and then go back and pause and press play when you need to. And also, if you're absent from a lesson, these videos should be really useful, and if you're revising for a test. So last lesson and this lesson we're learning about life for ordinary Anglo-Saxons in villages, in towns, and you created your own Anglo-Saxon village, of course. But what you haven't learned about is the towns. Well, there's one similarity that both the towns and the villages had, and that was the houses being made mostly from wattle and daub, which is effectively straw, mud, poo, all mixed together, and it makes something that's not particularly sturdy. One of the drawbacks of a wattle and daub house is you have to repair it quite a lot, but the materials are readily and easily available, so it's quite easy and cheap to repair them. If you're wealthy, then you might be able to afford a wooden house, or really wealthy, a stone building, but there were so few of those. In a village, sometimes an earl might live there, but you know, there weren't that many earls knocking about. There might be the thane living in there. There'd probably be one house which is a bit more impressive than the others. Not always though. Sometimes the thane or the earl that was in control of a particular bit of land might not live there and would travel there to collect the taxes. You know, like the sheriff would go across and do it, or the thane. You know, thanes were sheriffs, remember? Anyway, taxes. Villages were usually, they had to be situated near some sort of water, whether it was a stream, a river, a lake, whatever it was, it needed to be near water because they needed to be able to drink, of course, and they didn't have pipes and things like that. There were lots of animals. Animals for eating, animals for producing wool for clothes, animals for producing eggs, for milk, that sort of thing. But also, you know, the animals were a primitive form of central heating, because they couldn't they couldn't afford to make a barn out of wattle and daub, these people, and they couldn't afford to leave the animals outside in the winter time, so or in the summer because of predators and things and the risk of them being stolen, and these animals would be so valuable. So what they did is they brought the animals inside, and it kept the animals warm and it kept the people warm, but of course it would smell terribly. You just have to pause so that I can get myself out of this particular junction before I tell you about the next bit. So yeah, now I told you a bit about eels, some of you, last lesson. Taxes were not always paid in money. We're going to do the economy next lesson. Sometimes things were exchanged, and actually the Anglo-Saxons sometimes paid, if they lived near a river, their taxes in the things they caught. For example, eels. That's a bit of a weird fact for you, as well as the houses being made of poo and the central heating made out of animals. Furthermore, the jobs that people did was usually farming, subsistence farming for those grades 6 to 9 of you. They usually farmed enough food for themselves to eat, and they only just managed to get enough food for them and their families to eat if they were lucky. There were, of course, bad years where the weather wasn't what was needed to grow things properly, and people did starve to death in this time. People didn't have many changes of clothes, people didn't bath, and the most important building in a village or a town would be the church, or if it's a big town, church is, if you're lucky. The difference between a town and a village was often they had walls around a town for defence, if they were lucky enough to have been an ex-Roman town. But they might have created some defences around the town. But another big difference would be wealth. More people living in towns would be wealthy compared to the number of people living in villages that were wealthy. Usually in a village it'd just be the thane or the earl's village, whereas in a town more people would be wealthy. There'd be merchants, there'd be people buying and selling things and all that sort of jazz. So there we go, it's starting to get a bit dark now, you can't see what I'm saying, but there you go, villages and towns, there's a starter, Anglo-Saxons, and that is how they lived. Oh, one more thing. Markets. In a town, a market was the most important bit. Market day was the most important day in a town, where things would be bought and sold, and people from villages would often travel to towns on a market day if they were lucky enough to have grown more food than they actually needed, and they could sell some stuff. So there you have it. Villages, towns, you got to use this information, use the information in the books today. Off we go.